And welcome to episode 27 of the WoolJewel podcast. I'm Caitlin and this is my knitting podcast. It's been a while since I've gotten to sit down and hang out with you guys, so I'm really glad to be back. And I have a lot to share. I have a few projects to show you and a few finished objects to show you, footage from my Iceland trip. And I'll also just be talking about kind of what I've been up to while I've been away from YouTube and pretty much away from Instagram too. I just haven't been that active in the yarn world recently. So I'll be talking about that stuff at the end. If you want to find me on social media, I'm WoolJewel on Instagram, WoolJewel on Ravelry. I have a Ravelry group called WoolJewel Podcast. In addition to the Ravelry group, I have also started a Facebook group. I think that the Ravelry groups are a little bit more difficult to stay super active, and so I started the Facebook group. I don't know how it's gonna go. I started it a few weeks ago, but this is the first time mentioning it on the podcast. So if you guys want to be in the Facebook group, you have to ask to be approved, but I will definitely approve you. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that it might be an easier way to stay connected and to share things. I don't know. I just have always had problems with the Ravelry format. I never stay up to date on what people are doing, and I don't know. It might be a total failure, but we'll see. So if you want to be in the Facebook group, just go join. I will also link to that in the information below. And I recently created a Patreon page, so if you want to contribute to the podcast, however much, it would be greatly appreciated, and there is a link to that below. There are some fun little extras for patrons on there. So we just had our first patron hangout. So I have a Google Hangout session for patrons every few months. Yeah, so it's basically just like a virtual knit night, I guess. And it was pretty fun. And I'll be drawing for prizes from the patron list as well. So if you want to get in on that, there is a link to that below. Before I get started, I also want to say a huge, huge thank you to anybody who is subscribed and anybody who is already supporting me on Patreon. I really appreciate it, and it is going to help keep the podcast going. I also really want to get into doing some tutorial videos, so that is what's gonna help me get there. Yeah, so knit-alongs. We are drawing a close on the Clean Slate knit-along, which I was co-hosting with Emily from the Slow Fashion Rebel. She has a YouTube channel. This was supposed to end several weeks ago, but if I am not filming a podcast when the knit-along comes to a close, I will close the thread and do the drawing at the next episode. So however long it takes me to sit down and film, that's when I'm gonna do the drawing. So just keep that in mind for any of my knit-alongs. If I say there's an end date and you don't see a new episode, you still have time to enter it to the knit-along. I don't know. I'm just really, really bad about entering stuff on time, and I've missed out on so many KAL drawings because I just can't get my stuff together enough to enter things on time. Yeah, so end dates are just kind of a suggestion for me. So that being said, I'm gonna draw a prize for the Clean Slate KAL today, and that was supposed to happen weeks ago, but it's happening now. So I'm gonna take a second and go draw a winner. Okay, and real quick before I do the drawing, I want to show what I will be sending the winner. So I almost never have set prizes before I, get the KAL going. And I just kind of figure it out as I go, but I was going through stuff in my yarn room and I found this bag I picked up when I was in the Netherlands. So it has just little canal houses. It's made of canvas and it's definitely big enough for some socks or a really small project. Yeah, so I picked that up there and I have one for myself, so we'll have matching little bags. I got this when I was hanging out with Carmen from the New Leaf podcast. So I met up with her, and she took me to this shop that had tons of just like little cute things like this. I think it's called Hema. Yeah, we went to Hema, got the bag. And then I also have an extra yarn cutter. So this will be in there. It's a keychain, and it's this little circle with like a blade in the center of it. I have one and I use it all the time, and it's pretty nice. It's a pretty handy little tool. So I am gonna put this in there, and I will send this to the winner. So this is also a participation knit along. So if you commented a lot and had entries, then you like every single post is gonna get you another entry. I used random.org and I generated the number 38, which is Claire, and I think her username is Pepo de Bois. I might be saying that wrong, but she is in France. So congratulations, Claire. Send me a message on Ravelry after you see this, and I will get your little project bag and yarn cutter to you. Yay! Thank you so much for all the participation and all the entries. I thought that was a really successful knit along. So many of you guys, you know, got your clean slate going because you finished your projects from last year. So maybe I'll do that next year at the beginning of the year too, because I thought it was nice to have a little motivation to finish a few things I otherwise would still just have sitting on the shelf. Other than the Clean Slate KAL, which is now over, I have my sock knit along going, and this is a year-long knit along, so I'm gonna draw for a prize for this, and I might do multiple prizes since it's such a big one, but that is going to be ending at the end of December, and it's the Any Sock'll Do KAL, so I will take any sock that you make, pretty much. The only rule is that you can't enter your socks into a different knit along. So this is just the knit along that is there to take your sock project if you aren't able to enter it into any other knit alongs. So that's going on. All the rules and information on that can be found in the Ravelry group, and that's also where the thread will be. It's also a participation knit along, so you know, the more you comment and participate in the thread, the more chances you're gonna have to win a prize. And you know, just like all the other ones, I'll figure out the prizes as I go. And speaking of prizes, I am coming up on 2,000 subscribers, which is really exciting and a huge deal to me. That is so crazy. That's a lot of people. So I think I'm gonna have another live podcast episode. That live stream will be decided, the date and time will be decided once I actually hit 2,000, or like once I'm pretty close, I'll set up a time. I guess it'll probably be on a Sunday at some point, and I will be doing a prize drawing for 2,000 subscribers as well. JessieMarieMakes on Ravelry was super generous and has donated a sock pattern club to the podcast. So one lucky person is going to be winning her sock pattern club, and that is a Philosopher Stone themed sock club. Starting very soon, she's got a bunch of sock patterns that will be released once a month. So that will be one of the prizes. I will probably have a couple other things as well that I will figure out at the last second as I do. And yeah, so if you're somebody who like wants your stuff shown on the podcast or to be given away to some awesome viewers, let me know. I would be happy to feature your stuff. And yeah, that's about it. I will get into finished objects now. So my first finished object for today is something that I actually finished last summer or spring, I can't remember. And it's what I'm wearing. And this is the Crazy Feeling sweater by Wool and the Gang. It's made with their Billie Jean yarn. And I knit this last year, and I've already shown it on the podcast. So I knit the front and back panels and left off the sleeves because it's supposed to be a long sleeve sweater, but I just kind of liked the way it looked as a t-shirt. but it did look unfinished without anything there. So I just went back a couple weeks ago and added on some ribbing just to give it a more finished short sleeve kind of thing. So I really like the way it looks now. Just looks a little more finished, and it's a nice summery top, and it's actually pretty cold today. So if I'm going outside today, I'm gonna have to put on something warmer. Yeah, but I really like this yarn. I will say the Billie Jean yarn slants a lot. So before I blocked this top, if I laid it on the floor, the whole thing would like slightly slant. This happens a lot of times with single ply wool yarns. This is a cotton yarn, and I don't really know what counts as a ply with cotton, because it seems to be just like a ton of tiny strands like all plied together, but it kind of behaves as a single ply. So I don't know. I wasn't really sure how to block it, so I just blocked it the way I do with wool. I soaked it, and I was too lazy to go down to the basement to get the actual detergent, so I just used Wool Wash, and it probably wasn't the best choice because it left it feeling kind of stiff, but I soaked it for a little bit and then rinsed it and then laid it flat to dry. And I think it will slant a little bit still on its own, but once I put it on, it's not that noticeable. And as far as Wool and the Gang kits go, I would recommend them. I think that they are a little bit pricey for what they are. A lot of the patterns only come in one size. That being said, they are really easy to customize because a lot of them don't have much shaping, and you could just simply cast on more or fewer stitches to get a size that works better for you. So I think they're really good for newer knitters who want to make a garment because they're pretty straightforward and simple patterns, but a lot of them you can't get unless you buy the kit with like their yarn and their patterns. Yeah, I guess that's about it for this, and I will move on to my next finished object. And this is what I'm calling my Grainbow sweater, because the yarn is this worsted tweed by Pickles. They're a Norwegian yarn company, and the yarn is called Pickles Tweedy. So it's like a gray yarn, and then the tweed is all different colors in there. And I really love it. And if you guys have been watching for a while, you'll remember this sweater that I knit for Ben that was like crazy dramatic, and it took me forever, and I had to frog it so many times, and I was trying to go patternless, and so it was just like a lot of work and a pretty dramatic sweater knitting experience. But I had enough yarn left over to get a sweater for myself out of it. So here it is. That was the back. It has a little ribbed turtleneck and a split hem that's longer in the back. And I knit the sleeves to be like an inch short of my wrist. So, because I kind of wanted to like push it up to here and be slightly bunched up around the elbow. I don't know, I get these weird ideas about sleeves sometimes. And then also it's like a really good length if I cuff them to be like a 3/4 length cuffed sleeve. This was also a patternless sweater. I just kind of wanted to experiment and see what would happen. I started this months and months ago. I can't even tell you when I started it. I have no idea. But I just wanted to try going patternless again and have it not be such a disastrous experience. So I did a top-down raglan. I actually started here. So I went back and added this neck afterwards because when I started it, I wasn't sure what kind of neck I wanted. So I just kind of figured out what my gauge would be based on Ben's sweater. I didn't knit a swatch. I just measured my gauge from his sweater and used the same needles. So that was that made it a lot faster and better, I think, because I didn't have to swatch. I already knew what size I wanted for around the bust. So I just cast it on for the neck and did, you know, did the raglan thing. I think I used some kind of online raglan calculator. I can't remember the name of it. I mean, this was so long ago. So before I post this video, I'll try to do some digging and see if I can find the website. But you can put in your gauge and your measurements and it'll tell you like how many to cast on and like how many rows to do of increases before you split for the sleeves and all that good stuff. So it was really, really helpful. I can't remember if I ended up doing the exact thing that it spit out for me or if I changed it, but it was helpful for just getting me started. So I guess it wasn't totally patternless. I guess you could count that as a pattern, but I wasn't like strictly following it. I was still experimenting as I went, and I did have to frog a few times. This is not the best fit for me because normally I really like, after you split for the sleeves, to just do no shaping for the body and just have it go straight down in a tube. But I thought I might try some shaping in this, which I did. And I did the decreases for the waist not on the actual sides of the body. I kind of did them like a little bit in the front and then a little bit, like a few inches in on the back. So I don't know if you can see it. See where the shaping is, a few inches in from the side, but I did it too low. I should have started it sooner, like where my actual waist comes in, but I didn't do that. So I did it too low, so it's like the decreases kind of start where my hips actually start and get wider. So it kind of makes this unfortunate like round bubble shape on me, and then I made it even worse by, I had this great idea to make the split hem decrease in down to the ribbing so that it didn't fall totally flat, so that I was thinking that this part would be more open. And I think that that would have looked cute if I had done no shaping in the body. But now that I've got the decreases in the wrong spot and then this part comes in even further, it just kind of creates this like round shape on me. And I think it's kind of weird looking, but I asked Ben, I put it on and he said that he didn't notice it or think it looked weird at all until I said that. And then he could kind of see it, but it like still wasn't that weird to him. So I don't feel like knitting on this anymore. I have worked with this yarn enough, I feel like, and I don't want to keep frogging it and all that good stuff. So I don't know, this wasn't something that I was like super invested in. I just kind of had the extra yarn and I felt like experimenting, and I did exactly that. And now I know if I'm gonna do shaping, put it in the right spot and don't make it worse by adding more decreases to make the body an actual circle. Yeah, anyway, I think it is pretty cute, and this is just gonna be, you know, throw it on type of sweater, and it's not the most stylish thing in the world anyway, so I don't really care that much. But yeah, I was glad to finish it. That was part of my clean slate KAL thing. I had that sweater done, like the body was done with half of one sleeve. So I just finished the sleeve, did the second sleeve, and then added the neck. And I'm really glad I did, because I have a cubby in my yarn room that is just full of things that aren't finished or need to be repaired in some way. And I just like, I'm slowly chipping away at that pile. It's taking a long time. Okay, on to my works in progress for the week. I had done a lot of knitting. Actually, I don't know. That might not be true. It's been about a month since the last episode, and I did a lot of knitting in that like first week and a half after I posted that episode, and then after that I've done hardly any knitting. And when I get to fluff stuff, I'll definitely talk about like what else I've been up to and why I haven't been knitting so much lately. But since it has been so long, I definitely do have stuff to show you. So here is the first work in progress. And if you guys follow me on Instagram, you will have seen this already. But this is the Jelly Roll sweater. And I'm using the Uschitita yarns I picked up from Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So here's the yoke that I posted on Instagram. I love this so much. It is so cool. It is like nothing I've ever knit before. So I've got 3 colors going in this yoke. I have this mostly white yarn, which is the colorway Braveheart. This turquoisey speckly yarn, which is Bouquet, and then this red one is Love is a Battlefield. The pattern has some coloring suggestions when you're choosing yarns, and she suggests that you use things that like have a lot of contrast so you can see the pattern pretty well. And I kind of thought that I would have enough contrast, but a lot of the speckles in the yarns are the same colors, even though like the main color of the yarn are different enough. So they really blend together really well. And honestly, I think it looks awesome. I had no idea what this was gonna be when I started it, or I didn't know how it was gonna look at all, but I'm really, really pleased. Yeah. And I think doing stranded color work with colors like this is a really nice way to fade them, which is what I'm doing in the body. So I didn't have enough for a main color for this sweater. So I'm using the Uschitita, this darker tan, which is called Mochaccino. But I didn't have enough of it for the whole body. I only had 1 skein. And so what I'm doing is fading it into this Hedgehog Fibres in the colorway Sahara, which was a club colorway. And then I faded that a teeny bit into this color at the top, Braveheart, to go a little bit lighter. And then I just kind of repeated a little bit of the stranded color work from the yoke into the hem. So that's kind of how it looks overall. I like it. I was originally thinking I was gonna fade it horizontally, just like striping it, the way that all those Andrea Mowry patterns do the fading, but I was just loving this yoke so much, and I thought that they weren't close enough in color that I was gonna get a good fade. I thought that they were like contrasting enough that it was gonna be really obvious with the horizontal stripes. And I didn't think horizontal stripes would look that great with this kind of yoke. So I just kind of repeated the same sequence where you have like wider stranded and then just stranding 1 by 1 and then flipping it underneath. And I really like it. So I think, you know, if I ever want to fade yarns in the future, I'm going to try to keep this in mind, that you can fade them vertically with stranded color work. It does use a lot more yarn, so this sweater has gotten pretty heavy since there's so much stranded going on, but I don't mind. I did the first sleeve and I'm going to redo it because I think it looks great up until about here. And I love this Sahara colorway so much that I thought I would want more of it. But then I put it on and then this stranded color work happens kind of right at the elbow. So it just kind of like cuts the arm in half, and then there's just too much of this light color. So I think I'm gonna go back in and add these other colors around the same place, so that most of this I think will be like the red and turquoise stranded instead of all of this main color. And so I'm on the second sleeve, and this is about the point where I'm going to start adding the other colors. So we'll see how that goes. I haven't touched this in a few weeks. It's been a while. I just like haven't wanted to touch it because it got really, really warm a couple weeks ago, and it was like really hot and sunny for a few days, and I just felt like summer was here and I didn't want to knit sweaters at all. I started spinning again. I just like wasn't, I don't know. I didn't feel like it. I knew I wasn't gonna be able to wear this until next fall anyway, so I was like, what's the point? I'm usually a really fast sweater knitter, but if I don't have a chance to wear the thing, I'm not gonna be that much motivated to finish it. Also, it's just like not really that fun to rip out something you've already finished, like this sleeve, and have to redo it. So there's that. I'm still excited about it. Every time I look at it, I get excited about this yoke. I think it looks so awesome, and I'm really, really pleased and surprised, frankly, at how awesome it turned out. That's it for that. I have another sweater to show you guys as a work in progress, and that's my Zweig sweater. So I know like everyone and their mom is knitting this right now, and sometimes certain things I'll be really excited about. This happened with me for the Sunset Highway sweater, where like I saw it and I was so excited about it, and I thought it was like the best thing I'd ever seen in my life, and I was picking out yarns for it, and then it was just like everywhere and everyone was knitting it. And I'm like not the kind of person that's like, oh, everyone's doing it, so I don't want to. I just saw it thousands of times, and I think I just like, I don't know. It was like seeing all these different versions of it made me feel like I didn't have to make my own version of it, I guess. Like I still think it's really cute, but I just am not excited to make it anymore, if that makes any sense. And I feel like that might have happened with this too, because everybody's making the Zweig. But I already started it and I'm not tired of it yet. So here it is. Last time I showed it to you, I think I was halfway through the lace. So I finished the lace and I got a few inches into the body. I don't have the needles, I don't have the tips attached to my cable right now, so I have to be really careful. So that's why I'm not spreading it out. But maybe you can see how far I've gotten there. Yeah. Okay, so yarns I'm using are Madeline Tosh sock yarn. I don't remember the exact name of the sock yarn. Twist Light or something like that. The colorways are Whiskey Barrel, which is this dark brown color, and then Marfa for the lace. I feel like I could have finished this by now too, based on how long it usually takes me, but like I said, I have just not been knitting so much past couple weeks. And part of that is due to the fact that these little X's in the main part of the body stink. I hate making them. They're just little cables, just like 2-stitch cables. You just like, you know, cable 2 stitches, and I hate making them. I hate them so much. I like every time I get to a row that is a cable row, I put down my knitting. Like I'm just like, oh, I'll do this later. But unfortunately that happens like every 4 rows or something like that. They're not that much spaced out. So there's a lot of cable rows, and I got through 3 sets of them, and I just could not handle doing any more. So I have already decided that I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to frog back to this last one and undo it and then do something else. So I was thinking I could just keep it super easy and just do stockinette instead. Because I mean, like, even if I managed to get through the body ones, there was no way I was gonna be able to handle doing all these little cables on the sleeves. I couldn't do it. So I could do stockinette, but I really like the idea of having some texture in there. That's part of the reason why I really like this pattern so much, is because there's interesting stuff other than the lace too. So I thought I would kind of keep with the idea of making little X's and using purl bumps to get like crossing like X patterns, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know what to do. I mean, but if I do that, then I have to like make sure I have the exact right stitch count to get this like new patterning thing lined up, and I haven't wanted to sit down and do that kind of chart for myself. So that's why I haven't been knitting on this. I just haven't decided exactly what I want to do, and then I think I do want to do the purl bump idea of making little X's with pearls, but that just like takes a little bit more effort that I just don't feel like doing right now. And I also would probably do it if it was gonna be cold for a little bit longer, but spring's definitely here. It's cold today, but it's not gonna be like this by the time I finish this. So yeah, so this is just gonna take a break for a while. But I'm really glad to be through the lace because that did take me longer than it should have. That being said, the cables are not difficult to do. I just have this weird aversion to them. I cannot figure out why I hate them so much. I even took the time to find a way to do them quickly, like without a cable needle, so it's not all fiddly. There's just like something about them that I do not enjoy. And I think that part of it is that like it happens so frequently. It just like takes me a really long time to get through a round, and I don't like that. Anyway, I do love the whole pattern, like as a whole. I love the lace. The lace was super fun to do. I love the colors I picked, and I'm like really excited to wear it, and I think it's really beautiful. I just can't with the cables. That's all I've got for works in progress. I have done a little bit of spinning, but I don't really have much to show for it. I'm putting my current spinning project in this April 9 Designs project bag. My friend Michelle got this for me for my birthday, and I love it so much. I love cacti and alpacas and llamas and all that good stuff. Yeah, so this bag's awesome because I'm keeping a knitting project and a spinning project in here. It has this zipper pocket that is seamed like on the side, so it's like a little divider. So I've got my spinning on this side and then a knitting project down here, which I will talk about, but I can't like show the whole thing to you right now, but I'll talk about it in a minute. Yeah, so here's the spinning that I've got. I probably showed this to you last year, and I haven't done that much more. I probably have done an ounce or so since I last showed it to you, because I haven't been spinning, I don't think, since last fall. So the fiber I bought from a woman here who dyes and spins. She doesn't have an online shop or anything, so, but she did teach me how to spin, and she always dyes up really fun colors, and I got this because it kind of reminded me of like a bumblebee. It's mostly yellow and white and then has some black in there. So this is kind of how it's spinning up, and I think that I want to apply this either with a white, or I was thinking like a deep purple or something. I don't know. I can't decide. I think it might be fun to spin it with, or to apply it with a different color just to kind of see what would happen. I don't have any ideas for what to use this for. I'm still new to spinning, I feel like, so I'm just kind of trying things. Yeah, but I think this is 100% merino. Yeah, and I would have used my wheel, but I had started this before I even got my wheel last year, so I'm just gonna finish it on the spindle and have some other spinning project going on my wheel. Okay, so let's get into fluff stuff. This is where I just kind of talk about like my knitting life outside of actual projects. So Ben and I, at the beginning of April, went to Iceland, which was amazing and beautiful and super fun. I'll be sure to put some photo and video at the end of this episode so that you can kind of see what we did there. obviously, like, Lopi is a big deal there. They have lots of sheep. So the wool is pretty special, and they've got these traditional Lopapesa sweaters. And Ben and I really want to make a couple of Lopapesas. We originally thought we would make each other a sweater. I thought that that would be super cute, and like I'll make him one and he'll make me one. So we went to go pick out some yarn for that. And I will be having a wool booty video coming out because I have some stuff to share with you guys that I have recently acquired. But I will show you a little bit of the yarn that I picked up in Iceland, mostly because this kind of goes into future knitting, and also I have never seen this before in my life. But this yarn comes in plates. Okay, so I feel like you can't even call it proper yarn because it is just, it's not even spun. It's just like wool fibers. Let me see if I can get a strand kind of separated. They're just kind of laying flat next to each other. They're not even spun together really. And it comes apart really easily. So at first glance, when I saw this in the shop, I thought it was pencil roving, like for spinning, but what they do is actually hold 2 or 3 strands together and knit with it that way. So at the shop, and you'll see this in my little videos from our trip at the end of the episode, but we went into the Hand Knitting Society shop and they have a ton of Lopapesas for sale, and I was just kind of getting ideas of what kind of one I would want to knit for myself. And I found one that was super pretty, and it had like this tan as the main color and then dark gray and white as the contrasting colors in the yoke. And I thought it was so, so pretty, and I was looking around at the yarn. I was looking at the Alafos Lopi because it looked like a pretty bulky gauge that they had knit the sweater in, but I couldn't find these exact colors. There were whites and tans and grays, but they weren't exactly this. And then someone else pointed out to me that that sweater I was holding was actually knit with these. And then it made sense because all the colors I was looking for were just right there waiting for me, and I didn't even look at them really because I thought that they were just pencil roving. So yeah, so they have a scale there, and so I found a sweater knit with the same stuff that fit me, and then I weighed the sweater and then weighed these plates to hopefully have the right amount. So before I knit with this, I'm gonna have to I have 2 white, 2 gray, and 6 of this like camel color. So I'm gonna have to take some time and wind all the balls separately, triple stranded, so that I can knit with it, because I think it would just be too much of a mess to knit from this, because a lot of them are like really sloppy in the middle, and since I have to hold it triple stranded, if I only have 2, then I have to like wind one from the inside and the outside at the same time. So I think that would just be harder to knit that way. So since Ben and I were hoping to knit each other these sweaters, but I wanted these colors, I wasn't gonna make him knit from this stuff. I think that it might be a little bit difficult because it does come apart pretty easily. It's not as sturdy as something like the Alafos Lopi. So we're just gonna knit our own, which will still be fun because I think we're gonna do it together, and we want some pretty traditional looking sweaters out of it. So I think it'll be fun to come up with the type of yokes we want and everything. So yeah, we'll probably do that in the fall because I don't know, I don't want to knit a bulky sweater in the middle of summer. That's just not going to be fun for me. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that. If any of you guys have knit a sweater, or I guess anything out of this Lopi that comes in plates, I don't remember what I think they call it Plita Lopi or something like that. But if you've used it, Let me know how it went or if you have any tips. I'm kind of nervous that I'm just gonna like turn it into a big tangled mess and it's gonna be really frustrating. So yeah, let me know, and let me know also if you've held it double or triple stranded, because I've had different people tell me it's supposed to be double and some people told me it was triple, so I want to make sure. I guess it really just depends on my own gauge, but still I kind of want to do what's like most traditional, I guess. Yeah, so I have a few other yarny things that I've picked up in the last month or two that I want to share with you guys, but I will do that in the Wool Booty video coming out after this episode. So after we got back from Iceland, we had a day to rest, and then the next day we went to Berlin, and we didn't even stay overnight. We flew there in the morning and flew back at night. It wasn't that bad. It's like a 45-minute flight, so it like wasn't a big deal at all. And we didn't have to take any luggage, which was amazing. So we went there because Ben has been shopping for a new instrument. He plays the double bass and he really wants to buy an old European instrument while we're living here. So we've been kind of more seriously looking for the past year or so. So like every time we travel somewhere, we'll see if there is an instrument shop that would have something that he wants, and he'll try a few out. And he knew about this bass shop in Berlin. So he had already been several months ago, and he tried this one bass and he felt like it was the one. So we had to go back and try it again before we could make a real decision, because these things are expensive, and we were gonna have to take a loan out for it and everything. So we just like really wanted to make sure it was the right one. So we flew out there, and the guy with the bass shop had just moved to a new location. So we went to this really beautiful shop, and it's in this courtyard in the city, and in the same courtyard was Yarn Over Berlin, which is a yarn shop. I couldn't believe it. And I was so good when we went to Berlin. I didn't even look up where yarn shops were. I was like, I don't need to know. We don't even have time. We were just gonna go to this shop, get something to eat, and then go back to the airport. But there it was, just like waiting for me. It was totally meant to be. I had just gotten a bunch of yarn at Edinburgh Yarn Festival and in Iceland, so I was like, I don't know. I felt like I wanted to buy some yarn while I was there, just because it was just like this crazy thing that it just happened to be right next door to this instrument shop. But I did not buy yarn. I was good. I decided to get a book instead because it's not the same. So I picked up this bad boy, and there are some beautiful, beautiful patterns in here. And I don't know how to pronounce the name of this magazine. I've heard people call it Liney. I've heard people call it Lane. I don't know. Somebody tell me how this is pronounced. Yeah, so I have issue 1. I was just calling it Lane Magazine before, but I could be totally wrong. Yeah, I have issue 1, which is the one that has the piece of silver in it. And I pretty much bought it only because I wanted to knit the piece of silver. But this one has several patterns in it I want to knit, and most of which is the stalactite. I saw this sweater at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. It was hanging up in some shop booth. I don't remember which shop it was, but they had knit this as a sample in like a mustardy yellow color, and I thought it was so cute. I loved it, and so I bought it because I want to make it. So I'll probably be making this late summer so I can wear it in the fall. Yeah. I love it so much. I got a couple other books too, because Knit Picks was having a book sale where all their books were 40% off, and so I got a couple of those because I couldn't resist. So I will also be sharing those in the Wool Booty video coming out next. So that was a pretty successful little trip to Berlin, and Ben decided to buy the base. So now we are just getting our loans and all that good stuff figured out before we can go get it. So we will be back in Berlin in a few weeks once all of that stuff goes through, because we have to drive there and go pick it up because we can't fly with it. It's an exciting thing to buy an instrument. It's like welcoming somebody into your family, kind of. Yeah, so after Berlin, Ben was really sick. But he had like this awful virus cold thing. It was terrible. And I do not film podcasts when Ben is home. I can't do it. I don't know why. He has watched episodes before, and I'm totally fine with that. But if he's here while I'm filming, I don't know. I get just like weird and awkward, and I can't do it. So he was homesick all week, pretty much, and then I got sick because I caught whatever he had, and so I was sick for over a week. That one hit me pretty hard, and I was super bored, and I really wanted to make a podcast, but I like couldn't even talk without like sneezing and sniffling everywhere, and so I couldn't do it. And then I couldn't knit because I was so achy from this virus that like my neck started hurting so bad. I knit for hours and hours on my 2 other sweaters, and then one day it was just like too much. I couldn't do it. I usually don't have the worst posture. Like I don't look down super far, but I don't know, I just like couldn't knit comfortably. So I just didn't. So I was homesick and I couldn't knit because I just didn't feel comfortable doing it, and then I got super bored. It's kind of crazy to think that like I haven't been bored in so long, because if I felt like I didn't have anything to do, I would knit. And then I wasn't knitting, so then I kind of didn't know what to do with myself, and so I was just kind of like laying there listening to podcasts and stuff, and I don't know. And then after that, I really wanted to work on a few designs, and that did require a little bit of knitting, but it wasn't a whole lot because I was just knitting swatches. So I have a few ideas. I have 2 sweater patterns kind of in the works right now. I have no idea how long it'll take me to get them going for real. I've never designed sweaters before. I mean, because if you guys have been following, you'll know that I just released my very first pattern, which is the Bend Legwarmers pattern, and I really enjoyed doing that. It was kind of the perfect thing to figure out, just like how to write a pattern. Yeah, and figuring out the layout and figuring out like how I want the wording to be in my own patterns, and going through the whole publishing process on Ravelry. And it's not the most complex pattern. They're just fancy tubes really because they're leg warmers, but I could spend more time like learning how to write a good pattern than I had to like figuring out the most amazing design ever, you know? So I really appreciate all the amazing test knitters that knit them and gave me some really great feedback. It was just a success, and I wasn't expecting it to be this like huge, big, exciting thing. I just kind of like published it with very little fanfare. I just made an Instagram post. But still, more people purchased the pattern than I was expecting at all. So yeah, so thank you so much for the support for anybody who bought my pattern. It made me really excited, and even just having a couple people purchase the pattern made me really want to keep doing this. So I have these 2 sweater designs in the works. And like I said, like I've never designed a sweater before, so I don't know how long it'll take me. I'm about halfway through creating the first one, which I really want to get published before the fall because it's kind of a summery design. And that's what's in this bag that I can't show you, but I'll show you the yarn I'm using. So I only balled up partial skeins, so this is just kind of what's left that I didn't ball up. So I've got a main color, and these are La Bien-Aimée and the colorway Paisley Nouveau. I think it's Paisley something for the main color. And then this is a BFL fingering from Les Petits Points Parisiens. And I don't remember the colorway because it has a French name and I don't know, I can't remember what it is because it's in French. But I will put the info for this yarn as well. This is one of my favorite colors, and I have a sweater quantity of this, so I'm hoping after summer I'm gonna make a whole sweater out of this yarn too. But for now, I had a little extra that I need for a sweater, so I'm using it as a contrast color in the sweater design. So, I mean, isn't this the most like springy, summery combo ever? Yeah. So fingers crossed. I don't want to show the thing until I finish it, at least, because I have had to redo several things about it and I haven't totally decided how I want to finish the sleeves and stuff for it. So I will reveal the thing after I finish making it, but before I release the pattern. So keep an eye out for that. And then the other, I just have swatches for. So I'll just show you one swatch. It's the same colorway as that contrast color in the other one, but this is in a heavier yarn. So it's from the same dyer, Les Petits Points Parisiens, and it's, I think on the tag, I think it says worsted, but for me it was knitting up more like a DK. So it might technically be a DK yarn. But I'm thinking for my sweater, I'm gonna have this double seed stitch with a slip stitch line somewhere on it and then ribbing somewhere else on it. Yeah, but I'm excited about this. I don't think I'm gonna knit the whole thing in this yarn. This is one of many swatches, but I just kind of wanted to figure out what gauge I wanted to use and which yarn I wanted to use and all that good stuff. So we'll see. I am much further along on that other fingering weight sweater than I am on this one. But I'll keep you guys posted. So yeah, I'm really gonna try to get more into designing stuff. It's been really fun and I love the process and I like challenging myself to be a little more creative with my knitting. Fingers crossed I have this first one done soon so I can at least show it. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've been up to for the past month and why I haven't been knitting so much and why I wasn't podcasting so much. I feel like I haven't even hardly been on Instagram lately. So I'm sorry to be so out of touch, but I have really enjoyed sitting down and chatting with you guys again. I love podcasting and I really wish I could do it more steadily, but I don't know. I'm finding out that that's really difficult for me. So I'm really glad that I can do it when I can. And I am more glad that you guys enjoy participating and watching and hanging out with me. Keep watching if you want to see some footage from Iceland. And if not, then thanks for hanging out. And if you feel like it, give this video a thumbs up or leave a comment and say hi. Find me on Ravelry, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time.